Tozawa asked Kumasaka if he didn't get tired with his brows constantly being furrowed, with him explaining it's a habit now so he can't stop. Tozawa, taking the opportunity to touch Kumasaka, offered to massage him to help loosen up his brows. Kumasaka blushed in surprise but thanked Tozawa for it. Seeing Kumasaka's expression, Tozawa announced that it might be more difficult to do as Kumasaka looked more like a demon than a relaxed man. Tozawa ended up asking Kumasaka what's wrong with him and why he looked like a playboy from a spicy manga, which stunned Kumasaka. Tozawa sat Kumasaka down, telling him to not be nervous and just relax. He blushed, almost whispering that it's impossible. Giving her softest expression, she told him that she'll try again if that's okay. Now more relaxed and accepting, Kumasaka's expression softened too, causing him to look more like his gentle personality. Tozawa, overwhelmed by his adorable face, speaks out loud saying that she can't show this face to anyone, wanting to treasure it all for herself. Meanwhile, Kumasaka asked if he had a terrible face, not noticing Tozawa blushing, drooling, and looking a hot mess. Tozawa called Kumasaka's attention and showed him her phone. With affection, she tells him that she liked his dog drawing so much that she made it her phone wallpaper. Blushing slightly, he told her that it made him happy to see that she liked his drawing so much. Then he admitted that it also made him want a drawing from her as his wallpaper. Tozawa confidently said that she's good at drawing and, after a bit of scribbling, declared that it was done. With the moe style, Tozawa announces that she thinks she captured Kumasaka's likeness perfectly, shocking him. Clutching the drawing, Kumasaka questioned if this was him. What he didn't say out loud was that the drawing was way too good. Tozawa, thinking Kumasaka was insulted by it, asked what he meant. She only drew him as she saw him in her eyes. Blushing and heart racing, Kumasaka realized that this is how he looks to her. With sudden excitement, Tozawa asked Kumasaka to draw her too. Inspired, Kumasaka decides that he will draw Tozawa with all his heart and make her as cute as he really sees her. As he was drawing, Tozawa looked on, super excited while waiting for Kumasaka to finish. Then, Kumasaka did this. Ta-da! Tozawa noticed that Kumasaka was looking happily at his phone and asked what he saw that made him so happy. Kumasaka explained that his brother got a new dog and just sent some pictures of it. Showing Tozawa, she sees that it's a cute dog and says so, which Kumasaka agrees with her thought. As Kumasaka swiped to show more dog pics, he dropped his phone. Tozawa, being helpful, told him that she would pick it up. Kumasaka apologized, saying that it was his fault for dropping it. Unknown to them, however, Takiya, Kumasaka's neighbor, was watching them and was stunned from what he saw. From Takiya's point of view, it looked like Kumasaka and Tozawa were doing the nasty right in the college campus lecture hall. Not being able to stand watching anymore, Takiya calls out, asking what the hell the pair are doing in the lecture hall. The pair turn to see what Takiya wants, with Tozawa popping up with Kumasaka's phone in her hand and an innocent look on her face. Takiya confronts Kumasaka, asking why he made Tozawa use her mouth to kiss his hips. Kumasaka yells back that it's a misunderstanding. Tozawa yelled back that something like that shouldn't be done here, it would be torture to stop halfway. It should be done properly at a hotel instead. Kumasaka yells at Tozawa, telling her to stop since she's only going to create a bigger misunderstanding. After a flurry of panicked words, Kumasaka managed to explain to Takiya what had happened and that Tozawa wasn't being lewd in the lecture hall. Tozawa, however, was making a pouty face, disappointed with how everything went. Kumasaka panted with relief, while Tozawa casually mentioned that she would have been fine with this misunderstanding. Kumasaka looked at Tozawa and pondered what she had just said, while she talked about classes and what they should do after them, unaware of Kumasaka's gaze. Resolving himself, Kumasaka called out to Tozawa, who replied, puzzled by Kumasaka's sudden change of tone and attitude. Kumasaka tells Tozawa that making lewd jokes like she did is fine when it's just them, but he doesn't like it when she makes them in front of other guys and he doesn't want her to do it again. He concludes by saying that he doesn't want anyone looking at her in a negative light. Seeing Kumasaka so serious and earnest, Tozawa is completely blown away. Seeing him like this, Tozawa blushed like crazy, noticing that Kumasaka is really concerned for her and cares for her. It overtook her emotions in a rush and she barely stuttered out an apology and that she won't do it again, barely able to control herself. She became lost for words and stood there, her entire face beet red. However, Takiya was still watching them. He couldn't hear them, but he thought that Tozawa had finally been worn down by Kumasaka and was now falling for his roguish charms. This wild speculation ended up becoming a rumor around the campus. Tozawa approached Kumasaka, mentioning it was winter, so isn't he cold only wearing a t-shirt? Kumasaka, looking unfazed, gave a questioning grunt. Tozawa quickly clarified that if he's okay then that's fine, but looking at him makes her feel cold. Kumasaka apologized about that and began to explain why he was only wearing a t-shirt. Kumasaka reminisced about his childhood and commented that he's always had a weird resistance to the cold. Tozawa told him that he stood out like this, so offered him her scarf and gloves. Kumasaka thanked her, thinking that her scarf smelled lovely. Looking annoyed, Kumasaka stood there as it looked like a child had dressed him up. Tozawa mentioned that maybe her gloves were a little too tight, with Kumasaka more concerned about looking like a weirdo. Tozawa then suggested that Kumasaka try carry her against his chest to hide his clothes. Her black panther eyes alluded to her thoughts being lewd, thinking that clinging to Kumasaka all day on campus would make her melt. As she began to boil over with naughty thoughts, Kumasaka declined, saying that she'd make the situation go from weird to freaky. Kumasaka decided to wear a jacket that Tozawa picked out for him to impress her and to fit in more with the crowds of freezing students. He was pleased with himself and excited to see her reaction. Walking to campus, however, was a nightmare. He was cooking from the inside, with his naturally high body temperature betraying him. Tozawa went to greet Kumasaka before noticing he was overheating and drenched in sweat. Noticing Tozawa, he apologized for looking gross and she should probably not touch him. She told him not to worry and be more concerned about overheating and take off his jacket. Powering through it, he said that they're close to campus, so they should just keep pushing. Finally arriving in the lecture hall, Tozawa complimented him on making it while dabbing his sweat with her handkerchief. She tells him to take off his jacket and cool down. Stripping it off, a torrent of steam emerged, revealing a soaked t-shirt that clung to Kumasaka's skin. As he was looking a hot mess, Kumasaka commented that it felt like he was not going to make it. Tozawa stood there, head blank, nose bleeding, emotions flowing freely, and her eyes swirling like a dark temptation that was going to drive her mad. Hanging out together, Kumasaka and Tozawa strolled around the town square, noting all the Christmas decorations and how busy it all is. Tozawa happily remarks on how sparkly and beautiful it all is, as she's filled with the holiday spirit. The pair are noticed by a street photography crew who calls out to them, mistaking them for a couple. They offer a free photo for them for Christmas, to spread the holiday cheer. Kumasaka was taken off guard by the comment, blushing and stuttering, questioning what the photographer just said. As Kumasaka fought for his life to make sure the photographers knew the pair weren't a couple, Tozawa was in Panther mode, scheming. She thought that if they take a photo, they have to stand closer, even touch. And if they touch, Kumasaka might get aroused, and if he got aroused... Seeing that this could be her best chance to get laid, she yells out that they all took the photo together, and her urges overwhelmed her as the lewd thoughts took control. Kumasaka, however, was yet again thrown into a tailspin. The photographers began to position the pair, with Tozawa going all in for the moment, draping herself on Kumasaka. He, however, was being moved around positioned like a mannequin. Seeing that Kumasaka's head was out of frame, the photographer asked him to bend down, to which he agreed. His head became dangerously close to Tozawa's, as she blissfully smiled towards the camera, while the pair were complimented by the photographer. However, there was another issue. Kumasaka's wide frame poked out of the picture's edge, so the assistant pushed him slightly, asking him to squish himself down. Neither noticed that the assistant was pushing Kumasaka right against Tozawa's chest, who seemed to not hate the experience, but was surprised nonetheless. Realizing what happened, Kumasaka was completely flustered, turning to face her and apologizing for what happened. He was red from ear to ear, while Tozawa just seemed to be confused by the reaction. Unfortunately, the assistant kept pushing Kumasaka to fit into the picture and be even closer, causing Tozawa and himself to smush faces. The result of this was Kumasaka accidentally kissing Tozawa on the cheek. He was horrified by seeming to accidentally be forced upon her, while she blushed with pleasant surprise. As this occurred, the photographer took the one picture they were offered for free. Feeling completely disgusted with himself, Kumasaka prostrated himself in front of Tozawa in a deep apologetic bow. He screamed about how sorry he was, while onlookers gossiped about the scene that was unfolding in front of them. Tozawa tried to defuse the situation, saying that she didn't mind at all that he kissed her on the cheek. The crowd made varied and wild speculations about what was going on, panicking Tozawa. She yelled at Kumasaka, telling him to stop bowing already and stop making such a big scene, or they both would get bad rumors made about them. Looking up at Tozawa, Kumasaka was a sobbing mess, saying that he had permanently stained her, which could easily be misunderstood as something much worse than an accidental kiss, which Tozawa warned him about. Seeing that Kumasaka was completely broken by the incident, she realized that she won't get what she wanted from him in this state and began to mope herself. Trying to make things right, Kumasaka declared that he should do something to atone for what happened, saying to Tozawa that he would do anything she wants to make up for it, piquing Tozawa's interest. Instantly, almost without a thought, she began to blurt out a physical act she wanted, but ended up stopping herself. She realized that this isn't how she wanted this to go. Knowing what she must do, Tozawa requested Kumasaka to turn his face for a moment. Kumasaka didn't know what Tozawa was up to, but complied with the request. Blushing, Tozawa pulled herself up by his collar and gently kissed Kumasaka's cheek. Blushing even more, Tozawa proclaimed that they are now even, so Kumasaka should cheer up. Kumasaka, however, had transcended from this existence from a mere kiss from Tozawa, proving truly how innocent he is. Tozawa admitted to herself that using guilt to bed Kumasaka was unsporting behavior, and she would not be satisfied if she did that. While attempting to look smug, despite blushing from ear to ear, Tozawa thought that she would let her prey escape this time, but next time, she would strike true at her target. Kumasaka, meanwhile, was still living in the land of ever bliss. It didn't end when he boarded the train home, nor did it end while he was showering. Just as he began to calm while reading a Christmas card, he remembered the soft, gentle kiss and how it tickled on his cheek, and it caused all the feelings to re-emerge like a volcano. He got not a wink of sleep, but no one ever did when they live in the land of ever bliss.